Okay, I'm going to work through the 10 questions that you did on your maze activity today in class, so you can see how they're worked out. I'll also give you some helpful hints on how to do things quicker. Remember, you learned all of this stuff in Algebra 1. We're re-practicing it now here in Geometry, and then you're going to need it again in Algebra 2 and Pre-Cal. So the better you can get at it, the quicker you can get at it, will help you for years to come. All right, so we have these 2 points, and it wants to know which one is parallel. So we know parallel means same slope. So let's find the slope. So from 1 to 9 is 8 places. And from -2 to 2 is 4 places. So the slope here would be 2. A slope equal, we want to be parallel, so we want to have the same slope. So we want the one that also has a slope of 2, so that would be D. So this question would send us to station 3. Okay, I'm just going to go in order of the cards. I'm not going to skip from 1 to 3 to 2 to blah, blah, blah. So we're just going to go in order. So here's question 2. What is the equation of the line through the point that is perpendicular to these, perpendicular to these 2 points? Me and this app do not get along. Okay, so let's find the slope again. From 1 to -2, that is going down 3. From -4 to 3 is going up 7. I want to be perpendicular, so that means an opposite reciprocal slope. So the opposite means change the sign. So it was negative, now I'm going to be positive. Reciprocal means flip the fraction. So I now want mine to have a slope of 7/3. So I can knock off that one and that one. Now I just need to see which one of these 2 that I have left is going to go through the point 2, 1. So at this point you can either graph these 2 equations on your calculator and look at the graph, or look at the table to see which one goes through the point 2, 1. Or if you don't have a calculator, you can say, okay, I have a slope and a point, so I can do point slope. So y minus 1 equals 7/3 x minus 2. Distribute and move the 1. So I can see that is going to be y equals 7/3 x. -14 plus 3 is -11. So I would want that one, D. Okay, 3. Determine whether KM and ST are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So I need their slopes. So from -7 to -3, that goes up 4. And from -3 to 3, that goes up 6. So that is a slope of 2/3. Up 4, up 6, yep. And then ST, from 4 to -5, that would go down 9. From 0 to 6, that goes up 6. So -3/2. So they are these 2 slopes. My final simplified slopes are opposite reciprocals. So that means they are going to be perpendicular. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize we were going. All right, so which of these is parallel to this equation? So parallel, we know we want the same slope. This is in standard form. It is not in slope-intercept, so I need to move it over. Now, you should be able to tell if I'm going to move this 2x to the other side, it's going to become negative, because I'm going, literally what you're doing is you're subtracting from both sides. But now that you're pre-AP geometry, you should just be able to say, okay, it's 2 on this side, so when I move it over, it should be -2. So I'm looking for another slope that is going to be -2, so that's positive. This one is negative, but it's in standard form, so when I move it over, it is going to be positive, so I don't want him. This one is positive. When I move it over, it's going to be negative, but look, I have to divide by -1, so he's going to turn back positive. This guy right here is negative, and he's already in slope-intercept, so he is going to stay negative. So this is the choice that I want. D is my answer. Okay, so I want to know which describes the relationship here, but again, I'm in standard form, so it's hard to see the slopes. So I'm going to do this without working it all the way out, just so you can see how quickly you should be able to do it. So let's look at this one. When I move the x to the other side, that's going to become -6. And then I'm going to have to divide by -2, so that slope should be 3. Here on this one, when I move this x to the other side, it's going to be -1. And then I'm going to divide by 3. So I have a slope of +3 and -1/3. Those are opposite reciprocal slopes. So that should be perpendicular. Okay, so I want to be parallel to this equation. So the slope I have to start with is -6/7. Since I want to be parallel, I want to keep the same slope. So here that's good and B's good. C and D are going to be perpendicular, so I just want to mark those guys out. Now I want to make sure it goes through this point. So I have a point and a slope. If I'm on my own, I can just do point slope. If I have an equation, I can, or if I have a calculator rather, I can put these two answer choices in the calculator and see which one goes through that point. We'll just do the algebra for now. So y minus 4. X minus a -5 becomes +5. Distribute. And add the 4. Find a common denominator of 7. Whoop. -30 plus 28 would be -2/7. So A would be your answer there. Okay, I want to be perpendicular to y equals x. So as it stands, the slope right now is +1. So if I want to be perpendicular, my slope would be -1. Remember, perpendicular is opposite reciprocal. So it was positive, now it's negative. 1/1, flip it over, it's still 1/1. So -1, +1 are opposite reciprocals. And I want to pass through, let's stop and look at our slope. So that's positive, so I can throw A and B out immediately. Let's see which one of these two that I have left goes through the proper point. So y plus 3 equals -1, x minus 5. Plus 2. So that would be C for the right choice there. Okay, same style as the last question. I want to be perpendicular to y equals 3. Remember, y equals 3 is a horizontal line. It crosses the y-axis at 3, so it's just going to look like that, horizontal. So to be perpendicular to a horizontal line, I would want any vertical line. So vertical lines, the only choice for a vertical line is x is equal to -3. Okay, you want something that crosses only the x-axis. You won't be able to put this one in your calculator because remember, vertical lines are not functions, so your calculator cannot graph them. So, but you shouldn't even need to. That one should be super easy. Hey, look, a horizontal line. So who's perpendicular to horizontal? Nobody but vertical. So there we go. Okay, so we want to find the slope of a line that is perpendicular. So first, let's find the slope that we already have. So from -4 to -8, I am moving backwards 4 places. From 5 to 12, I am going forward 7 places. So the slope I currently have is -4/7. So perpendicular is opposite reciprocal, so I will want to do the opposite sign. It was negative, now I should be positive. And then reciprocal means flip the fraction. So I will want to be a positive 7/4. So B would be the correct choice. Okay, last one. Crooked. Okay, which two lines are parallel? So we're looking for the same slope here. But these are not in slope-intercept form, they're in standard form. So what you want to look for, you know what you're going to do. You're going to have to move the x to the other side and then divide by the y. So let's look and see if we can eliminate any choices here. Okay, so these two, look how the x is on the 2, and here the x is a 5. So these two are going to be reciprocals of each other because look, they've switched places. I have 2 then 5. Over here I have 5 then 2. So there's no way those are going to equal out to each other. They're going to be reciprocals, and I don't want that. Okay, this one looks good. Let's hold on to that one for a second. This one, look, this is +2 and this is -2. +5 and +5. So with the y's being the same, that's what I'm looking for, but the x's have opposite signs. So your slopes are going to be opposites of each other, and I don't want that. One's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. That's no good. Same story here. Look, this is 3 and 6, so they're both positive, but then I have a positive 4 and a negative 8. So this line is going to have a negative, no, it's actually going to have a positive slope, and this line is going to have a negative slope. Those can't be the same slope, so I don't want those. So without actually doing all that complicated work, by just looking at the signs and the numbers of who's on X and who's on Y, I immediately eliminated all three of those without doing any work. Now B, I'm going to go ahead and show you the work. If you aren't that quick with your slopes yet, this is what you would do for all 4 answer choices to see who works out. So for this one right here, when I move the 3 to the other side, he would become negative 3, and then I would divide by 4. So the slope for this equation right here would be negative 3 divided by 4. For this one, I would move the x to the other side, so it would be negative 6, and then I would divide by 8. Negative 6 divided by 8 is negative 3/4. When I reduce, those have the same slopes, so there I am. So that's the quickest way to do that problem, is to eliminate the ones that don't even look close to start with, whether they have different signs or they've swapped the places of your x's and your y's, and eliminate those, and then any that you have left, then go ahead and solve them out.